Although I've been playing racing games since I was a kid and I have a growing love for cars, I realize that I don't really know much about them. In racing games like Forza, Need for Speed, The Crew, especially Need for Speed and The Crew, most racers or players tend to try to absolutely max out their favorite car or find the most powerful vehicle available and try to max that out. And up until a year ago, that's pretty much what I did. I just maxed out every car I could get in the game, and yeah, because just in America, we love going as fast as possible in the straightest line possible. But with Forza and other racing games, gaming simulators, you know, Forza racing games and other simulators letting you engine swap and build 1,000 horsepower cars, and the numerous videos of 1,000 horsepower GTRs, 1,000 horsepower drag trains, 800 horsepower this, 900 horsepower that. If you're not a car enthusiast, you kind of get a distorted view of what's a lot of horsepower and how much horsepower you need to be considered fast. Now, before we jump into explaining what's a lot of horsepower in the car world, let's talk about horsepower in the real world. When it comes to the real world, the truth is horsepower doesn't really matter. At least in America, about any car you buy can reach 100 miles an hour. And I'm going to pop up a video of the dashboard of my 2014 Ford Fiesta. The max speed of that car, at least what the dashboard said, is 130 miles per hour. And I've tested it out. The car can comfortably drive at 95 or 90 miles per hour without even reaching 4K RPM, which is revs per minute, which is not really high. You know, that's not even half the RPM it can reach. All right. So the fastest you're legally allowed to drive in America is 85 miles per hour. And that's only in Texas. And just about everywhere, cops will let you go 5 over the speed limit, sometimes even 10. But like I said, you can only go the fastest road where you're allowed to go 85 miles an hour. That road is only in Texas. In most states, the fastest you're legally allowed to drive is 70 miles per hour or 80 miles per hour. Here in Georgia, in North Florida, the fastest I've seen is 70. So if you add the 5 over rule, the fastest you can drive comfortably without fear of being pulled over is 75 miles per hour, but that's just on freeways and the highways. The average speed limit I see in cities and open roads is anywhere between 45 miles per hour and 50. A very large majority of people are going to abide by the law. Just about every car, you know, a majority of people are going to abide by the law. And just about every car made in the last 20 years, assuming that it's in decent condition, can drive at least 60 miles an hour. If you drive 60 miles an hour when the speed limit is 45 or even 50 most times, you're already going to be driving faster than 9 out of 10 people on the road. So basically, if you are in the street competitions, street races, or if you're not going to car meets and whatnot, your horsepower doesn't really matter, because almost any car you buy that's made over the last 15 years will, you know, comfortably be able to break the speed limit. And since a lot of people don't want to get pulled over, you're going to feel like you're driving that fast if you are breaking the speed limit. But that's the normal world. What about, you know, the car community, the street racers, the drifters? How much horsepower is a lot? Now, I want to start this segment off by saying your car is only as fast as you're willing to go with it. So you can have an 800 horsepower Skyline or a goddamn Hellcat, but if you're scared to break the speed limit, you're going to be getting passed by Camrys and Civics. And heaven forbid you get passed by a Civic. You'll get shunned in the car community. I don't see why people hate Civics so much. They tell me it's the racers. Anyways, how I'm gonna determine what's a lot of horsepower is if you have 150 more horsepower than common cars, and we also look at trucks and SUVs to like kind of compare the horsepower. Well, I wrote that down, but I ended up looking up the horsepowers of most of common cars, and then, you know, determining it based on that. So I'm gonna list some common cars, like I said, and some common SUVs and pickups, and then Google their horsepowers and top speed to determine what's a lot of horsepower. 5 common cars I see are all generations of the Toyota Camry, all generations of the Honda Civic, Chevy Cruises, Mazda 3 Speeds, and Jeep Wranglers, things of that nature. And when I Googled these, I took the lowest horsepower that it states and rounded it up, you know, but yeah, and rounded it up. So the 97 Toyota Camry has 140 horsepower. The 2010 Toyota Camry has 170 horsepower. The 96 Honda Civic has 110 horsepower. A 2020 Honda Civic, not the Type R, has 160 horsepower. The 2014 Chevy Cruze has 140. A 2012 Mazda 3-speed has 270 horsepower, and a 2015 Jeep Wrangler has 285 horsepower. But the top speeds for these cars is the 97 Camry is 124 miles per hour, the 2010 Camry is 140, the 96 Civic is 118, the 2020 Honda Civic is 140 approximately, the 2014 Chevy Cruze has a top speed of 108 miles an hour, that 2012 Mazda 3-speed 118, and a 2015 Jeep Wrangler has a top speed of 125 miles per hour. When it comes to SUVs and trucks, normal Silverado, pretty much a 2020 or 2019, has 355 horsepower and a top speed of 155 miles per hour. A Dodge Ram 1500 has 260 horsepower and goes approximately 120 miles per hour. A Dodge Journey has 173 horsepower. I rounded that up to 180, and it goes anywhere between 120 miles per hour or 130. My mom's Dodge Journey, the dashboard says 120. A Jeep Grand Cherokee has 300 horsepower with a top speed of 160 miles per hour, and a Ford F-150, a standard F-150, has 250 horsepower with a top speed of 130 miles per hour. Now, if you go off these two charts alone, we can say anything over 300 horsepower is considered a lot, because you will be nearly doubling the power of regular pedestrian cars, and you will have more power than a Mazda 3-speed, which is pretty much a sports car, and more horsepower than a Jeep Wrangler, which is designed for off-roading and driving through mud and stuff. Also, I'm pretty, excuse my French, but I think Jeep Wranglers can do rock climbing too. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's a special variation, but I do know they do rock climbing. And at 300 horsepower, you'll be more powerful than a standard F-150, Dodge Rams, most SUVs. And if you're in a car, you'll also be half the weight of those things. So 300 horsepower is our base answer, and the answer for the title of the video for everyone who drives. So yeah, if that's the answer you were coming here for, what is just considered a lot of horsepower, 300 horsepower is our answer. But if you're like me and you want to be able to go toe to toe with anyone at a car meet, keep watching. So common sports cars, so your Ford Mustang GT has 310 horsepower, your stock one, with a top speed of 155 miles per hour. A regular Dodge Challenger has 305 horsepower with a top speed of 155 miles per hour. A regular Chevy Camaro has 275 horsepower with a top speed of 153 miles per hour. A Honda Civic Type R has 306 horsepower with a top speed of 169 miles per hour. And a Subaru BRZ has 200 horsepower with a top speed of 145 miles per hour. Now, that doesn't include sports edition cars, even though the Type R is pretty much a sports edition Civic. Hold on, I gotta check on this food. So that was sports cars, but here's your common supercars. So your Hellcat Charger has 717 horsepower with a top speed of 205 miles per hour. Your Challenger has the same amount of horsepower and it goes 203 miles per hour. I actually thought the Challenger would be faster than the Charger. Well, no, the Charger's smaller, so if they're using the same engine, makes sense. A 2015 Nissan Gtr, which is the GTR I think is the most common, actually I think the 2010 has 545 horsepower and a top speed of 205 miles per hour. A 2005 Corvette Z06 has 505 horsepower with a top speed of 199 miles per hour. A Corvette ZR1 has 755 horsepower with a top speed of 214 miles per hour. And the new Corvette C8 has 495 horsepower with a top speed of 194. Now, if you're looking at the sports and supercars, if you're in the 400 horsepower to 500 horsepower range, that's pretty much a lot. There are factory built muscles that get up to 400 and 500 horsepower, but those are specialized editions, and most people are just going to buy a Hellcat instead of buying specialized Mustangs, Camaros, and stuff like that. Although the ZR1 has 755 horsepower and is the fastest car we listed here, when it comes to the ZR1 and the ZR6, it's going to be rare to get in a race with those cars or see them at car meets, because a majority of the people that own these cars are in that retirement age, Okay, now the dog's out of the way. Yeah, they're in that retirement age, and they'll rev the engine for a thrill every so often, but they aren't gonna race you. The cars are mostly for show for them. So what you will mostly be racing or seeing at car meets and stuff, I'm assuming, are all variations of the Hellcat, occasionally a Nissan Gtr, and all makes and models of the Mustang, Camaro, and Charger Hellcat, and some trucks, right? So from a power standpoint, if you're rocking above 350 horsepower, you're going to go toe-to-toe, beat, or destroy anything that's not considered a supercar. I include Hellcats as supercars. And if you're rocking 500 horsepower or above, you're going to compete with literally anything on the streets. But when it comes to the Nissan Gtr and the Hellcats, if you aren't rocking all-wheel drive, you're going to get toasted regardless. So yeah, anything at or above 300 horsepower is a lot of horsepower. But if you want to dual sports edition Chargers and the newer line of muscle cars, you're going to need 350 or 400 plus. So that means when I achieve my dream of building a 500 horsepower all-wheel drive Mazda RX-7, I'll be able to duel and destroy anything in my area. So if you want to see me take on, car enthusiasts, hit that sub button and grow so we can build the Night Strider and change the car community forever. Let me go. Are y'all let me know how y'all feel. Are y'all surprised that 300 is considered a lot? Is this common? I assume that people around my knowledge of cars is going to be watching this video, because most people who actually know about cars probably would they're not going to watch this. They're going to be like, we know what a lot of horsepower is, this, that, and third. But yeah, let me know, which one of these cars did you expect? Like, did a car surprise you that it had such little, i.e. like the Dodge Journey only having 180 horsepower and it's an SUV, the Ford F-150 only having 250 horsepower? Let me know your thoughts. But until we meet in the comments, envy no man, because we know we up next. Sponsored by Atari, and